After several hiccups in my journey as a leader, what I've decided to share with you today are some of the strategies that I've learned that you might consider as you move forward in your leadership journey. So what I've done today is provide a window pane, and you are welcome to draw along with me, make some notes, that kind of thing, whatever makes the best sense for you. So as we get started, one of the things that I want to suggest is that you always be resilient. And you'll see from my drawings, I'm not an exceptional artist, so if you want to write along, that's fine too. So being resilient is one strategy that I feel is really very important as a leader. Being able to bounce back from changes in your world, being able to move forward with your plan and things like that. So being resilient, being able to bounce back and to really overcome struggles, to really overcome barriers and things like that in your leadership journey. Focusing on results is what's really pretty important as you're being resilient and bouncing back. Making lessons of setbacks, if indeed you have those. I thought when I was preparing these notes, if I listed all my failures, you might never get to some of these strategies. So being resilient, really being able to make lessons of setbacks, which is really pretty important, and always continuing to move forward a lot smarter and things like that. So as we continue, here's the next window pane picture. And so what this will represent is building relationships. And building relationships with lots of different individuals. Really thinking about who's in your tribe, if you will. Who are those people that really provide encouragement and support and really can help you think through plans that you might identify moving forward as a leader. These are the people that will always tell you the truth when you ask. They'll give you suggestions for ways to move forward, and they'll continue to be your tribe, your people that you can count on as you move forward. When you think about building relationships and strengthening relationships, the other key aspect is to really have a diversity of individuals. You may see here on the chart that there's a yellow person and a green person and a black person, and if I had more markers, there'd be a red person and a purple person. So that just represents the different diversity of people that I feel are really important as a leader when you're growing and continuing on your leadership journey. So again, bouncing back, being resilient is really very important. Developing and strengthening relationships is another aspect of leadership and getting where you want to be as a leader for sure. So this next window pane aspect really describes you. And being comfortable with being you, uniquely you. The good news is there is nobody else in the world exactly like you. And isn't that cause for celebration? I believe that it is. And it's important for you to know what you value, because that will determine how you use your time, energy, and how you prioritize the things in your world. Sometimes it's hard to stand out and to be you. And I feel like as a leader, that's really very important always. So getting to know, first of all, what you value. So why is that important, you might think? Well, I feel like if you can identify your values, then you can identify your priorities. And then you can identify how you spend time doing the great things that you want to do throughout life. Some of my values include authenticity, being adventurous, having fun. I think that's important. Family is also important, and also being engaging and energized with people and things like that. So as I think about those values, I can easily spend my time doing the kinds of things that are important that support my values. I think it's hard when you're not identifying values to be able to say, this is who I am and this is what I want to do and that kind of thing. So again, being able to say what you value and then base your priorities, and moving forward with your time and energy to show what you value for sure. So again, being uniquely you, being resilient, bouncing back from adversity and barriers and things like that, building and strengthening those key relationships for the people that are in your tribe are important as well. So this next one, I'm sure you all know the importance of. So this is a light bulb, in case you're wondering. So this really, in my mind, represents mindset and attitude. And really thinking about those two, not separate, but really complementary of one another. So when I consider mindset, one of the key things that comes to mind for me is really having a mindset that's growth-oriented rather than a fixed mindset. I'm sure many of you know people who are very comfortable doing the same old all the time. What I would encourage you as leaders to consider is having a growth mindset. And what that means is looking for new opportunities, accepting challenges as they come your way, really learning from every experience that you might have. So every day. So what are you learning every day? A mentor of mine once told me it's really important to learn something new every day. So when you stop learning, then that tells me you're in that fixed mindset. And from a leadership perspective, there's nothing more detrimental than that. The other part of this mindset aspect is attitude. And I feel like all of us know people that have negative attitudes. And I'm here to suggest that having a positive attitude truly makes a difference in your world, in your life, with the people around you and that kind of thing. So having perhaps an attitude of gratitude is really pretty important as well. So having a growth mindset and a positive attitude, in my mind, go hand in hand. So as you think about this window pane model and where we've discussed so far, the importance of resiliency and bouncing back is really pretty important from barriers and adversity and that kind of thing. Developing, strengthening, and growing your relationships. Think about people that you see out and about and you think, I'd really like to figure out who they are and what their story is and that kind of thing. So you can easily do that, right? Just go up and say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about XYZ. There's not a person on the face of the earth that doesn't want to talk about themselves and their successes. So building and strengthening relationships is really pretty important. Being uniquely you is another aspect of from a leadership perspective that's really very important as well. And so, you're in charge of your story. That's the other good news I think I have to share is that if you don't like your story, you can change it. Many of us have had challenges throughout our life, and if we don't like what we've done, we can start to make that change. And today's a really good day to start to do that, right? So if you're not happy with your story, go ahead and make a change and be uniquely you. And then again, mindset and attitude, having a positive attitude and having a growth mindset is really very important as you continue on your journey as a leader. And then finally, again, I'm not a great artist, so whatever you draw will be perfect. And so what I'm listing here are options. Because I feel like you and I always have options about how we spend our time and energy and that kind of thing. And this is really demonstrated by the power of choice, right? All of you had a choice about whether or not to get up today, to be part of this Light the Fire event, to, hang out with friends and that kind of thing. So you always have that choice. And that, in my perspective, is really the most important power that you have. You have power of influence and you can use your time the way you want and that kind of thing. And I think perhaps the most important power that we have is power of choice. And making no decision That's a choice, right? So when you think about choices that you have, you can choose to be proactive. You can choose to take action. You can choose to be who you want to be, and that's what I would encourage you to do from a leadership perspective for sure. So in summary, and as we kind of figure out what this window pane really represents, again, these are 5 strategies that I feel are pretty important for leaders in order to move forward as a leader and to grow. So again, being resilient, being able to bounce back, when there are difficult things that you're going through, really thinking about, so I may have made a bad choice, and this is the way I'm going to learn from that. This is what I'm going to do differently moving forward. The power of relationships is really pretty important. So who is part of your tribe? Who's in your network, if you will? Who are those people that will support you regardless of what happens, right? Who are the ones that are challenging you? Because that's really pretty important. Certainly, my family is part of my tribe for sure, but then there are colleagues that I've worked with, friends that I've met through my coaching experience and that kind of thing. So as I grow in my leadership, and I'm growing every day, I clearly don't know it all, which is the good news. So I am still continuing to build and expand those relationships with individuals within our community. When you think about this particular graphic, this is really the one that encourages you to be truly you. So what is your story? Who are you? What do you value? How do you spend your time? How do you spend your energy? What's really important to you as a leader moving forward? And really being able to not only identify, but keep those values in mind as you're making choices, as people ask you about being with them or doing things and that kind of thing. So those values are pretty important. The light bulb, again, represents having a growth mindset, always looking for new opportunities, new challenges, even though it's a little scary at some point. It's okay to say yes and then figure out how to do things. So having a growth mindset and a positive attitude. I feel like when you have a positive attitude, that affects not only your mental health, but your emotional health as well as your physical health. So there's benefits, certainly, in having a positive attitude. And then finally, knowing that you have all kind of power within yourselves, right? And power of choice is perhaps the most important power that you can expend on a daily basis. There are always going to be options. There are always going to be people who say, well, I think you need to do this, and I want you to do that, and that kind of thing. And understanding that based on who you are, knowing that you've got great relationships, that you've got a growth mindset and positive attitude, then you can make choices that are best for you. And as I end my short segment today, I just want to read a quote from Dr. Seuss that I think sums it up really well from a leadership perspective for sure. And as he notes, today you are you. That is truer than true. There is no one alive that is youer than you. So as you continue on your leadership journey, I encourage you to be who you are, be authentic always, and to seek all kinds of challenges and opportunities. That's it.